One. Welcome back into the Pick and Roll NBA podcast with Jet and Sap, presented by Full Press Coverage. We again are in the middle of the NBA rumor season, off season, summer league season, whatever you want to call it. So even though a lot of free agency has shaken out already, there's still plenty of things not only to talk about, but other dominoes to fall. Still waiting for a lot of trades to potentially happen. And one domino actually fell yesterday, and that is that of Kawhi Leonard, as he does what nobody really predicted that he would do, which is basically kind of what everybody could have predicted, that he's going to do something that nobody expected. And he signs a 4-year, $176 million maximum extension with the Clippers to stay in LA. People thought he'd sign a 1-year deal, sit out the year, then maybe shop himself around. Maybe he'd go to a different team, but no, he stays with the Clippers for a maximum extension. Sap, were you surprised by this?
I'm always surprised whatever happens with Kawhi Leonard. However, that's a lot of money to not grab. And I think that maybe some players looked at what Dennis Schroeder did by not accepting the Lakers deal last year, 4 years, $84 million, and then get stuck with a 1-year, $5.9 million contract from the Celtics. And I think players, as they get a little bit older and have dealt with injuries, say, let me get the money now while I can, rather than just accepting a 1-year deal where he's most likely to sit out the entire year with that knee and then come back the next year. And then Lord knows what the market may look like. So he was ready, willing, and able to accept this. And the Clippers had to put this out there for him because the Clippers have never been relevant except for the last 2 years, right? They finally made it to the conference finals for the first time in their team history last year. And they did it without Kawhi Leonard, who got hurt in game 4 of the Western Conference semifinals. They were still able to beat Utah in the second round, and then they went 6 games before losing to Phoenix. So at least they were relevant last year. Now, it's most likely that Kawhi is going to miss this year with that knee. So this really turned out to be a 3-year contract at $146 million, which comes to about $49 million per year. That's the going rate for a top-tier player. The only hesitancy the Clippers would have with Kawhi Leonard is he's never been durable. It's not just a new phenomenon with him. I believe one time in the last 5 years as he played more than 60 games. So most likely to sit out this year, and then you have him for 3 more years, and you hope that Paul George is still playing at a high level, and you can kind of fill in the gaps and make a run at a title. The Clippers, it looked like when Kawhi went to LA and they brought along Paul George, were in position to put together something really special. The first 2 years, not special. The third year most likely won't be special because Kawhi is going to be out. They're going to have about a 3-year window where they try to win at least one championship, and that's the goal.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it in terms of saying that they kind of had to because of the relevancy of the franchise, and they're also, keep in mind, building a new arena in Inglewood. So they're getting kind of trying to, again, this is all to really escape the Lakers shadow that they're always constantly in, and they never really will unless they win a championship. Then sort of briefly they will, but they're always going to be the second team in Los Angeles. That's just a fact. But Kawhi Leonard certainly makes him far more relevant, and they were going to pay him even if he's not going to play this season. He very well may not. So I think we knew that the offer was always going to be on the table. The thing that surprises me is that Kawhi is still comfortable playing for the Clippers, because we heard all these rumors at the end of the season that he wasn't happy with the doctors there, which again is a refrain we've heard from him before, and that's ultimately what blew up his relationship with the Spurs. And that maybe he wasn't as happy with Paul George as we had led to believe, and that he potentially wanted to play with another star. We heard Jimmy Butler's name come up. So I was a little surprised that he was comfortable signing for the longer years. Obviously, he's going to take as much money as possible, but it seems like those rumors were maybe way overblown, or just at the end of the day didn't really matter to him.
Yeah, I mean, the money was there for the taking, so he did what I think is the prudent thing to do and accept it, because you can make more money with your current team than with another team. And whatever issues he has with the training staff, maybe they were able to work that out if he was able to sit down with owner Steve Ballmer, who has an endless supply of money. The only strange thing about Kawhi Leonard, well, there's a lot of strange things about Kawhi Leonard, but the one that always kind of it makes me hesitant to necessarily put him as a top 5 player is that yes, he's a marvelous player, maybe the best two-way player in the league. Although now you can make a case that Giannis is because he's an elite defender as well. But he has really no leadership ability. He's not a very vocal guy. He's not a communicative guy. And like if you're building a new arena, you kind of want to have the face of your franchise to be somewhat engaging. He's a cyborg. Like if you have LeBron James, you have someone that can sell the franchise, right? You see when LeBron James goes to a new franchise, the value skyrockets. Same thing with Tom Brady. I believe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, their value went up 29% in the last year. I guess wonder why. That's because Tom
Right.
Brady went there and won a Super Bowl. You're not going to get that with Kawhi Leonard. Marvelous basketball player and all of that, but he's probably the quietest superstar in the league, although he seems to be a guy who behind the scenes isn't afraid to, stab someone in the back like he did with Russell Westbrook or, a lot of the members of the Spurs or whatever else. But yeah, that's the other thing. You don't get that extra stuff with Kawhi. You got a marvelous basketball player, no question about that. But now you're not going to have him this year. So you got to see how he's going to recover from this. And, it's similar to how Brooklyn gave that contract to Kevin Durant 2 years ago, knowing he was going to miss the 2019-2020 season, but they just figured, okay, a 4-year deal, it's still worth 3 great years with Kevin Durant. We'll see what happens. That's pretty much what the Clippers are doing. But I would always bet on Durant over Kawhi because I think Durant can recover from injuries quicker than Kawhi Leonard because Durant could literally go out there in a wheelchair and probably still put up 30 points because he's such an efficient scorer, whereas Kawhi still relies somewhat on his athleticism. And if he starts to lose a little bit of that, then his play's going to suffer.
Yeah, I mean, I think, also you have the Kawhi Leonard bias because you don't want him to threaten your guy LeBron, even though that's not realistic. But
Threaten him as what? As a gnat threatens an elephant? No,
you didn't want him to win. You didn't want him to win the title this year, Sap. You didn't want to hear any conversation about it.
Well, Jed, he's Eli Manning. He's won 2 titles. Has had 2 great playoff runs.
It's a little
LeBron's
different because he's great in the regular season too.
When he
statistically,
plays.
Eli Manning was never a good regular season player.
Yeah, but when he plays, though, again, once in the last 5 years, he's played over 60 games. He takes a lot of time off in the regular season. He is better than Eli Manning. All right, so he's Hilary Swank, who's been nominated twice for Oscars and has 2 Oscars for 2 great movies. She's been in a lot of crap otherwise, right? Boys Don't Cry, A $1 Million Baby, great movie. She won the Oscars for that, deservedly so. And I don't know what her 3rd best movie is, but yeah, there's no threat. The only threat to LeBron of any of the players that are still playing might be Kevin Durant. And that I still think is a long shot because even if he wins 2 titles in the next, say, 3 years with Brooklyn, he'll equal LeBron with 4 titles, but they don't feel the same as LeBron's titles because he's built super teams. And yeah, LeBron became a super the Heat became a super team because of LeBron and Cleveland, et cetera. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like the entire what these guys have accomplished in their whole career. Kawhi Leonard has played like 560 games in his career. He's not even close, to approaching even Durant, let alone LeBron in their entire resume. But no, he's a fabulous player, but it's not that I have a bias against him. I just think that, a guy that is not durable, not dependable, not really a leader, you're giving him a lot of money. But as we said at the beginning, Jet, they had no choice. They've never been relevant. So to remain relevant, you sign who I think is the 6th best player in basketball, but you're not going to have him this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think again with Kawhi, he's so non-communicative. I mean, would it shock you if he just shows up, he plays the first game of the season, everybody was wrong?
No. Yeah, who knows? I mean, he could come back in April, right? I mean, the season's going to start October 19th. So, that's not that far away. I mean, if this is an 8-month injury, he could be back for the playoffs. If that's the case, who knows with him? Yeah.
Well, they were saying he could have played in the finals, right? If had they made the finals, perhaps he was going to. I just don't know. I mean, he's not going to share the medical information. The team's not going to share the medical information. And so it wouldn't surprise me if he's ready to go for the start of the season. It wouldn't surprise me if he misses the whole season because I just don't. We have no information.
No, I mean, he could walk out of the cornfield at Field of Dreams for all we know. I mean, he would, that wouldn't surprise me either. He's the strangest guy in the NBA, right? Like everybody in the NBA, they've got huge personalities, who's sensitive on social media like Kevin Durant, who's passive aggressive like LeBron, who's a total alpha who, is got tunnel vision on the court like Russell Westbrook. I mean, every player in the league has some sort of brand. His brand is the silent assassin, the cyborg, whatever it may be. So yeah, it's who knows with him. He could show up after the All-Star break. We'll have to see what happens. But the only thing is, Jet, don't you think that when you watch Kawhi Leonard now, and I don't even think he's 30 yet, or he's about to turn 30, or he may have just turned 30, but that's essentially what he is. He looks older than that, doesn't he? I mean, even the way he gets up and down the court, he looks to be an old 30 because he's had some injuries, a lot of wear and tear on the body. He's been a two-way player, so it's not like he's taking time off on the defensive end where a lot of superstars do. So I don't look at him as 37 years old being an effective player. I think this contract will pretty much do it for Kawhi Leonard. And again, you got to probably not be able to play him this year. If you do, it would surprise us all. But again, they had no choice but to do this with him because they need to remain relevant. Like you said, building that, I think, a $3 billion arena in Inglewood, they're gonna have to sell seats and luxury boxes, and he is a star.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with you. I mean, I in terms of him being an old 30 or whatever you want to say, I think it's just his game is like an old man's game. I don't think he's going to depreciate that bad because he's such a great mid-range shooter, and that I don't see that his skill has been depreciating at all.
No.
Yeah, his health isn't great, but part of it also is, especially that Spurs injury, which sort of remains a mystery. It did seem like he could have played through it, but chose not to. So it might be that he just is so protective of his own health that, maybe he plays less and less games as time goes on, not because, his body's breaking down on him, but because he doesn't really feel like it. So I don't know. I don't think this season, especially in the playoffs before he got hurt, I thought he was spectacular. So I don't think his game is depreciated at all.
Well, no, but it just seems, again, this is another surgery though, and another injury and another rehab. But no, his game hasn't fallen at all. I mean, you could make a case that throughout the postseason he was the best player at the point he got injured. They ended up beating Utah without him, and they took Phoenix to 6 games. I still maintain if Kawhi had been healthy and continuing to play at that level, very easily the Clippers could have won the title. I really believe that. Although I think they would have had a lot of trouble against Milwaukee because they don't really have rim protectors, and as great a defenders as Kawhi and Paul George are, they had enough trouble with Luka. They just could not contain Luka. They didn't last year. They didn't this year. I don't know how they were going to be able to defend Giannis, who, if you have a way of defending Giannis, it is to build that wall with some big rim protectors. The Clippers don't have that. Certainly the Suns didn't have that. That's why I thought a tough matchup for the Bucks in the finals would have been the Lakers because they have size. So a lot of times when we get to the postseason, it is about matchups. And I don't know if the Clippers would have matched up the right way against the Milwaukee Bucks, but we'll never find that out because it didn't happen.
Right. Well, either way, we know that Kawhi Leonard is going to head to the Hall of Fame someday. And we actually got some announcements from the Hall of Fame yesterday as to this newest class of 2021. We just had the class of 2020 inducted not that long ago because it was delayed a year because of the pandemic. And we always like to see who is going to be standing by the new inductees side and inducting them. It's a cool tradition that the Basketball Hall of Fame does. And now we have the answers. So this class is including Chris Bosh, Bob Dandridge, Cotton Fitzsimmons, Howard Garfinkel, Paul Pierce, Tony Kukoc, Ben Wallace, and Chris Webber. Oh, and Jay Wright, the coach of Villanova. So a very solid class, a lot of recognizable names. And obviously, Sap, I was really excited to hear that Kevin Garnett is going to be the guy who is standing by Paul Pierce's side. That made me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. We know how close those guys are and remain to this day. So I couldn't think of a better person to induct Paul Pierce than Kevin Garnett.
Apparently, Ray Allen wasn't available. They didn't want to ask Ray to induct.
Well, no, Ray is inducting Chris Bosh to really even stick the dagger further in Celtics fans' back. He's doing that.
Yeah, because it was Bosh who got the offensive rebound and kicked it out to Ray Allen for the game-tying 3 in Game 6 of the 13 finals. So, yeah, there's that connection. I want to know who's going to induct Tony Kukoc. Is it going to be Scottie Pippen? And again, I'm just being a wise ass through this whole thing. But
it's Michael Jordan and Jerry Reinsdorf. They are doing it.
you can't have. That's going to be interesting because I think they've kind of repaired their relationship a little bit, Reinsdorf and Jordan. So now there's two fellow NBA owners presenting Tony Kukoc. But back to Paul Pierce, that makes the most sense, doesn't it? Because I think Paul Pierce, before Kevin Garnett got here, was already on track to be a Hall of Famer, right? Before he
Sure.
got here, he made 5 All-Star games, which I think if you make 5 All-Star games, you're almost guaranteed of making the Hall of Fame. If you get to 6, it's pretty much a guarantee. And the interesting thing about Paul Pierce, and I was just doing a little research on his numbers, 5 times in his career, he's averaged 25 or more points per game in a single season, which is pretty impressive considering he came up in the late 90s and played in the early 2000s when scoring was down a little bit. It's not like it is now. Scoring wasn't as low as it was throughout most of the 90s where, it felt like football games out there. But that's impressive. But obviously, when Garnett came here, it just worked together. Garnett was the leader of that team. Pierce was very happy being the number 2 guy, except late in games where Pierce was ready, willing, and able to take big shots. That's something that Garnett was never really comfortable with. Garnett was very comfortable being the vocal, emotional, spiritual leader of the team, running the defense, all of that. But he wasn't necessarily comfortable being the guy to take the big shots at the end of a game, be a closer. Paul Pierce was very comfortable in that, and I think that's why they work so well together. So this makes the most sense. I think it's an easy choice, and can't wait to see the induction when it takes place, I believe, in September.
Yeah, I mean it'll be a really nice day for Celtics fans because not only is Paul Pierce going into the Hall of Fame, but so is Bill Russell as a coach,
Mm-hmm.
and so is Mike Gorman as a contributor, announcer, whatever. So 3 Celtic legends are going into the Hall of Fame. So it'll be a really, really fun day for if you're a Celtics fan, and Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett standing together will be great and bring back some really good memories of the last time the team was really competitive for a title.
Mm-hmm.
The other guys, Sap, going in, I'll tell you who is presenting them. Bill Russell has like a full basketball team presenting him. I don't know how this works or not. Bill Russell will be presented by, this is all according to the Basketball Hall of Fame's own Twitter, Charles Barkley, Dr. J, Spencer Haywood, Alonzo Mourning, Bill Walton, and Rick Welts. I don't know why they need that many people to stand up with him, but that he's got 6 guys that will be standing with him. So I guess probably they all were like, please let me stand with Bill Russell. That's really cool.
I think he's the most revered player right now, don't you think? Former
Yes.
player. I mean, Jordan, everybody. With Jordan, it's
they're
almost
scared
like
of him.
They're scared of him, exactly. With Bill Russell, it's like, I know he's oftentimes been confused with Morgan Freeman, but you almost get the same feeling that you get with Morgan Freeman. It's like God speaking to you. I think among
Bill Russell,
NBA players, Bill Russell,
with Dr. King. I mean,
right. I mean, he's gone through more than any other player. I mean, after him, it would probably be Kareem. Those would be the 2 guys that you'll look at and say, holy crap, these are literally living legends, as is Jordan. But again, you're right. Jordan's still more current. He's still an owner in the league where those 2 guys are detached from the league. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure. Look, Bill Walton grew up idolizing both Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain. Alonzo Mourning, I remember when he came out of Georgetown, same thing with Patrick Ewing, that they were going to be the next Bill Russell, like the guys who were incredibly competitive, great defenders. It's fantastic. Spencer Haywood, who I believe is in the Hall of Fame and was an all-time great player as well.
You have to be to be the person who's presenting.
Yep. So I think it's great, and it's great to see Bill Russell again. This will be the 3rd time that he's being inducted as a third time he's being inducted. I believe once as obviously a player, then as a coach, and I believe he's in on a 3rd different time, maybe as a collegiate player because he won back-to-back national championships.
Yeah.
I may be stand corrected on that, but whatever, how many times you want to put Bill Russell in the Hall of Fame, I would be in favor of inducting him every year. I mean, because
that could work
that much. he's met. Again, we had this discussion like 4 or 5 months ago, like if they're going to change the logo, who would it be? And I think we both went with Jordan because it's just, whatever. The guy had more impact.
Said Bill Russell, Sep.
You said Bill Russell. You did say Bill Russell, and I said Jordan because I got to show Jordan some love because I love LeBron. I mean, a LeBronista would normally say, "Oh, just go right to LeBron as the logo." No, Michael Jordan has made the game what it is today. He had more impact than any other player. But yeah, Bill Russell. I mean, man, I mean, what more can you say about him? I still get pissed off every time I'm near Government Center in Faneuil Hall and I see that statue of him. It's kind of like tucked away in no man's land, and it's like we've got bridges named after, David Ortiz. We got tunnels named after Ted Williams. We got big statues in front of TD Garden and Bobby Orr. And we got this kind of like small statue of Bill Russell where the Wax Museum used to be. And now that's not even in business anymore. And it's kind of near Government Center and it's kind of near Faneuil Hall and it's kind of out of the way.
Mm. Well, maybe, since he's getting inducted again, they can build another statue of Bill Russell. Or they should build 11 of him for all of his championships, really.
Yeah,
there
exactly.
11 different statues of Bill Russell throughout the city.
I'm for that. Yeah.
Like a scavenger hunt. You got to find them all.
Yeah. Doesn't Ortiz have like 3 different things named after him, like a bridge, a walkway, a street?
And it will just continue to get things named after him. I'm sure.
He's Big Poppy. Everybody loves him. Why not?
So Chris Webber is going to be presented by Isaiah Thomas. I don't know exactly what the connection is there, but okay.
Geez, Isaiah's been showing up a lot at the Hall of Fame. Didn't he induct Kevin Garnett?
He did
last time around. The connection would be that Webber is from Michigan. No, Webber's from Michigan.
I'm saying with Isaiah Thomas was a Chicago guy, and so was Garnett.
Both Chicago guys, right? With Webber, I think all of the Fab Five grew up as Pistons fans because at the time the Fab Five was forming and was in 1990 they went to the final game and lost to. In 91 they lost to Duke. The Pistons were still a great team, and so all those guys grew up Pistons fans, whether it be Jalen Rose or Chris Webber. So it's great for Isaiah Thomas. I just like seeing Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan at the same event. I would just love to be there to see if there's any interaction between the two, or do they just shun each other? Yeah. Jordan just probably snubs everybody. He's gonna snub Barkley, right? Because they're not speaking. He's probably gonna snub, if Pippen's involved anywhere. Who knows? I mean, he's gonna snub everybody. But that's Michael Jordan.
He'll be very nice to Tony Kukoc. He'll be very excited to see Tony. Then Ben Wallace is getting in. He's going to be presented by Larry Brown. The connection there is obvious. Yeah. He coached him.
Good choice. Good choice.
Let's see, who else do we got going in? I said already who's doing Tony Kukoc. Cotton Fitzsimmons is going to be presented by Charles Barkley, Jerry Colangelo, and Phil Knight. Phil Knight, my guy, my Oregon guy. Bob Dandridge is going in. He's going to be presented by Oscar Robertson.
That's pretty cool because they played together on the championship team with Kareem.
So there you go. Obvious connection there. And then, like I said, Chris Bosh, Ray Allen, and Pat Riley.
Interesting. Very interesting. That's going to be fun to see. Yeah, you got Riley and Ray Allen kind of, trolling the Celtics a little bit. And then you got Garnett and Pierce representing the Celtics. So be a fun weekend. And
here's the thing with Ray Allen, Sap. It seems like, he's upset that his relationship deteriorated with these guys in the Celtics, but it seems like he just has gone full heel. Like he can be upset with it, but he's not doing anything, and he hasn't tried to do anything to repair the relationship with Garnett or Pierce or the fans or the team. He skipped Pierce's number retirement. Yep. Now he's inducting Chris Bosh into the Hall of Fame. So I don't know if I really take it at full value that he feels bad about and wants to have a better relationship with Pierce or Garnett. I think they hate him, which, that's fine. I know Rondo hates him. We know he's not on that Celtics group chat that's talked about all the time with the 08 team. So
Big Baby is though, right? Big Baby.
Everybody is, I think, but him. Perk is. Right. So
Scalabrine.
People talk about, is Ray Allen's number ever going to be retired in Boston? No, never.
No,
never.
No, and I don't think Ray Allen really ever fit in with that team. Even when he was playing and winning a championship here, he's a different kind of guy, isn't he? I mean, he's one of the first athletes I ever read about who was very conscious of his diet. He said the last time he had a cheeseburger was as a freshman at Connecticut back in the early 90s. So he was like one of the first athletes that was very conscious of what he put in his body. I think Ray Allen could step out on the court now and still hit threes. He looks to be in fabulous shape. I know he loves golfing. He's kind of a unique guy. So I don't know if he actually fit in with Pierce and Garnett. When they got thrown together, it seems like they just fit perfectly, right? And then you had Perkins and Rondo, who were the younger guys who followed Garnett and Pierce. And it was those four among the starting five that really congealed. Whereas Ray Allen to me always struck me as a guy who was somewhat aloof and thought he was better than the rest of his teammates. Maybe I'm just reading into it too much, but that's the vibe I always got. And then, look, I was happy that he went to Miami and helped LeBron win a championship, but I also think that I always support players when they decide to just move on, because every freaking year at the trade deadline, all we heard about was Ray Allen's going to get traded for whoever. So when it was time for him to make a decision and take control of his career, he went to Miami. This is
Yeah,
what.
but I get why Celtics fans are pissed about that because they're the rivals. But the reason Garnett and Pierce weren't so pissed about it that he left, but is just that he didn't tell them, and they found out about it on ESPN. That's what initially pissed them off about it. It wasn't the fact that he
Okay,
went to Miami.
so they're pissed off. So we're going to support them for being pissed off. But Aaron
Yes.
Rodgers can't be pissed off when he's watching the NFL draft in 2020 and the Packers move up and draft a quarterback without letting him know, and that's supposed to be that's supposed to be
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Okay, I see where
Exactly.
you're at.
You have
All
to
right.
figure these things out, Sep. It's a hard world to navigate sometimes, but
I
that
get it. It sure is.
you've more or less figured it out now.
I have. I've got all the answers. Thank God for that.
Another former really popular Celtic who will not be headed to the Hall of Fame, unfortunately, Isaiah Thomas, not the Piston that we were just talking about, but again the former Celtic and King and Laker and Cavalier and all that stuff. He's trying to make a comeback into the NBA. He's been dominating the Seattle Pro-Am. Put up an 81-point game. Again, that's not against professional players, but still 81 points is 81 points. Been rumored to come back to the Celtics. Talked a little bit about going to the Lakers. Other team. Do you think Isaiah Thomas ends up signing anywhere, Sap?
He scored 81 points, but it's the Seattle Pro-Am. It sounded to me like a golf tournament, and he shot an 81, which, you're not going to win a Pro-Am shooting 81. But I know it's basketball. Lord knows what the competition was. And look, a guy like that, if he showed up at your local playground, you wouldn't be able to even play against him. You'd be in awe of him and be, totally intimidated by his talent. But does that mean he can now get back to the NBA? I believe he's 33 years old. He's had a myriad of injuries, those smaller guards. And I think Isaiah Thomas, I think we've both met him. He's 5'7", if that, right? I mean, you've stood next to him. I've stood next to him. I'm a little taller than him. I'm 5'9". You're probably what, 5'6"? You probably are
5'6", 5'5". He's about my height. Really, it's not that much different.
No, I mean, that was the thing. I was like, holy crap! Like when I was covering the Celtics in the league in the 80s, it was kind of interesting, like meeting Tiny Archibald, who was a solid 6'1". Or you get to meet Bob Cousy, who was a solid 6'1". They go, one of the greatest little men in the history of basketball. I'm like, he's a tall guy with huge hands. That's why he was able to handle the ball like that. Isaiah Thomas legitimately is small. So those guys don't bounce back from injuries. We're going to see what happens with Kemba Walker with the Knicks, who's 5'10", 5'11", even got 3 or 4 inches on Isaiah Thomas. I can't see him going to the Lakers. They seem to have their roster filled out as of now, and it didn't work well when he was in Cleveland for a few months with LeBron. So I can't see him going to the Lakers. That doesn't make any sense. Would the Celtics bring him back? I mean, the fans love him, right? I mean, he's one of the most popular Celtics of the last 10, 15 years.
Definitely.
What is he going to offer? I mean, I know you've added Dennis Schroeder. You've got Marcus Smart. It seems to be a team that's built around point guards and bigs, and then you got Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown as the wing guys, and maybe you need a little depth there. I can't see it happening. But now that Danny Ainge is gone, is like Brad Stevens trolling everyone and bringing back guys that Ainge got rid of, and maybe Isaiah Thomas is going to be yet another player that fits that role.
I don't know. I think before they made the moves to bring in Schroeder and fill out the roster a little bit more, I was like, okay, yeah, it kind of makes sense. Give Isaiah Thomas a try, give him short money or a non-guaranteed deal. But now that they have Schroeder and Peyton Pritchard has looked fantastic in the summer league, and I know it's summer league, but I think we all expect him to be a reliable NBA player, and he's a good shooter, and he's obviously far younger than Isaiah Thomas. So I think they feel pretty comfortable at that position now. I don't think that they feel really the need to bring in Isaiah Thomas. So I don't think the Celtics are really a fit for him. And the Lakers, I don't think he's a fit. But if LeBron wants him, then he'll be on the Lakers. Period. They don't care about building a team so much as the guys that LeBron wants on the team. I could see a team taking a flyer on him. I don't know what team that will be, because again, the age thing is a little tricky with him too. you don't necessarily want to take a flyer on a guy who's older because you want to get younger guys playing time, but maybe a team that's trying to look to the playoffs, maybe he could put them and be a nice 6-man for them. I don't know. I mean, I would really like to see him get back in the NBA and get a legitimate chance. He was on the Pelicans last year for a cup of coffee. I thought he played actually pretty well when they played him. I still I think he can play in the NBA. I don't think that he's such a negative asset because of his height and injuries that he's not an NBA player anymore. I don't think he's the guy who finished fifth in MVP voting, obviously, anymore. I don't think he's a starting point guard anymore, but I do think he's a guy who can get you points off the bench. And I do believe that's valuable in certain circumstances. So I hope a team takes a chance on him. And I think he would deliver. It just depends what role you put him in. If you're expecting him to play 20 plus minutes a game and contribute defensively at all, well, then you're barking up the wrong tree. But if you want a guy who's kind of instant offense and can shoot some threes and get you some points in quick spurts and bring some energy off the bench, I think he'd be able to do a good job.
Yeah, I mean, could Miami be a fit? I mean, they've got Kyle Lowry as their starting point guard. They had given up Dragic to get Kyle Lowry, so maybe they need some depth there, and he can come in and play 12, 14 minutes. He doesn't necessarily fit with Miami, which is more of a physical defensive team, which is not his strengths, obviously. So I'm just, kind of thinking of different teams. I hope there's a spot for him in the NBA. That's my thing. Look, there's 450 guys in the NBA. I think Isaiah Thomas belongs in the NBA, even if he's the 8th guy on your team and he's playing 12, 14, 16 minutes a night. And, he can be some instant offense off the bench. So here, I don't know, unless Brad Stevens is just trying to put the old band back together. I don't see
which
it in
I don't
LA
like.
It didn't work out. No, are you just being spiteful to get back at Danny
No, it's
Ainge?
not even spiteful. Yeah. I think, maybe, but I think it's more like if they were to bring him back because the fit doesn't really make sense. I think it's more of like, let's give the fans something to be excited about, which is bad business. I hate that. I hate that so much. I mean, that's basically what led to the Red Sox bringing in Pablo Sandoval, which is one of the worst contracts in team history. Never appease the fans by bringing in popular guys. That's bad business. No. Make sure it fits. So the idea of people were on Twitter were so excited about this. Oh my God, bring the band back together. Isaiah Thomas, Kelly Olynyk, Avery Bradley, all these guys are available. Let's run it back. I was thinking, what the hell back? Losing in the conference finals? That's not something you run back. That's
5 years
losing.
Later. Yeah, 5 years later against the team. Yeah, it's not the thing you do.
So it's bad business, and I want the team to be run the right way. And so far, I think Brad Stevens has done a good job to make this roster better and more cohesive than it was at least on paper than last year. And adding Isaiah Thomas to the mix would just seem like, hey, here you go, fans. And then fans would get excited and they would lose. And then what would be the purpose of all of it? So I don't like waving that shiny object at fans just to say, oh, look what we did for you. No, deliver something on the court that's actually tangible, not a player that people like.
And it could be a distraction too. He's on the bench and someone's not playing well and the fans are getting on that other player and they want Isaiah Thomas to play. Let's take a look at Peyton Pritchard. You're a bigger fan of him than I am, but let's say he's, your 8th guy, he's playing, he's having an off night. Next thing you know, the whole crowd is getting on him and they want Isaiah Thomas. And it could be more of a distraction than anything. I don't see him coming here or to the Lakers, but I think he'll find his way on some NBA team.
Yeah, and I think he, like you said, I mean, there's 400 plus players in the NBA. He's certainly better than a large portion of that, I would think, because he can clearly still score and shoot. Maybe he's not as fast as he used to be. Maybe he can't get to the basket as well, but he can still shoot. And that's I don't care how small he is, and he's a liability defensively, but if you're not playing him too many minutes, that has value scoring out the bench. You can't win a basketball game without putting up points, and he can put up points. So I think there's far worse 6th men options in the league or 7th men options in the league or even 8th men options in the league than Isaiah Thomas. So I hope he gets back in the league, but I don't think it'll be with the Celtics. Sap, last thing you want to talk about is this kind of awesome story about J.R. Smith. He remember back in the day, you could come straight out of high school and go to the NBA, Sap, and that's exactly what J.R. Smith did. And so because of that, he has college eligibility, not in basketball because he played professionally, so that wipes that out, but he's looking to play golf at the collegiate level, Sap. Going to college at North Carolina A&T, A&T. I don't know what it is. I know it's a HBCU.
Mhm.
And he's an avid golfer and is trying to pick up a golf career as a collegian. I think he's what, 35, Sap. So he
He's
would be
35. Yeah.
one of the oldest guys who's a college athlete. But I actually think this is kind of a cool story.
Yeah, it's Rodney Dangerfield, right? Going back to
Yes.
school when he was in his 50s.
Yes.
J.R. Smith's going to go there. He's worth $90 million. I think he's earned that much money in his career as a two-time champion. Maybe he comes back and, really takes good care of the rest of the golfers on that team. Yeah, he's an interesting guy. And I think eventually you're going to see J.R. Smith. I mean, look, everybody does a podcast. There's over 1 million podcasts in the country. But I think you could see him on one of the networks, whether it be ESPN or TNT or NBA TV. I think he'd be an interesting fit there. He's a much brighter guy than people think. I mean, there's times on the court where it looks like he has no clue what's going on. The man can always shoot, right? I mean, he's hit huge shots for the Knicks, and he hit some big shots in Game 7 of the 2016 Finals. Early in the third quarter, the Cavaliers were in danger of falling behind by double digits in that game, and he hit a couple of big threes that kept them in the game. So he can shoot, he could still contribute, but at this point, he's probably done with playing. Yeah, I'll support him on this. Why not? I mean, go ahead, chase your dream. And again, hopefully takes classes and wants to just enjoy the world experience of being in college. It doesn't mean he has to graduate, but just to be exposed to different people, maybe younger kids, meeting professors and rounding out your life experience will be a good thing for J.R. Smith. And we'll see how he is as a golfer. I mean, the only thing I'm hesitant about is he taking someone's spot. Is there like someone else that could fill that role on the golf team? But I would think that they would be able to figure that all out. And I think, they'll probably have the best equipment of any team, although I'm sure the NCAA will get involved with it somehow, and it'll
Right.
be some sort of violation if he buys everybody on the team, golf cleats and the golf shoes. It's going to be a
Yeah.
major issue. But yeah, good for him. This is good for him. And look, he's an interesting guy, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think the thing about taking someone else's spot is that's, I guess that's true, but at the same time, I granted I don't know their golf program particularly well, but it seems unlikely that that would lead to riches and being on the PGA Tour
Right.
if you're the last
Yeah.
guy on the North Carolina A&T golf program. I just think it probably brings good attention to the school,
Absolutely.
which is always
Yep.
great for HBCUs
Yep.
or any schools that are not massively funded, like the Harvards and the Stanfords and the Dukes of the world. So I think that's always a good thing. And you know golf is so devoid of personality in many ways. So, even though it's college golf, he has a personality. So,
Yeah.
why not? It's fun. It's a fun story. Good for J.R. Smith. And it's cool that he's going back and getting his education, regardless of if he ends up playing golf for the school or not.
Any kind of personality in golf is fantastic. So that's why I enjoyed the match. Aaron Rodgers, I thought was really good in that. You got Brady, who's trolling everybody at this point in his life. Phil Mickelson's always been a personality on the golf course. That's why he's always been so popular. And now you've got Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka, who can't stand each other, and they're both kind of like big, powerful guys. Built like
Yeah.
Mike Trout, crush the ball. That could be a rivalry. Yeah, you need more of that personality. We don't necessarily have that in tennis. We have arguably the three greatest male players ever playing at the same time. And I think Federer and Nadal have incredible respect for each other. I don't know if they have the same respect for Novak Djokovic. He seems to be a bit foolish, according to them and according to me at times, although he may end up with more majors than both
Right.
Nadal and Federer, which I'm going to still push back on that he's not as great as those players. But that's, for our tennis podcast, which no one wants to do with me. I'm busy, working on a tennis podcast with someone and a Columbo podcast
Yeah.
with
You're really great. Big
our new friend.
audiences for those.
Big
Yeah.
audience for, yes. Maybe we can meld the two. There'll be tennis and Columbo,
Oh, yeah. What a
and we'll,
show.
we'll get the old people. It would be fantastic. It really would. So, no, I'm. This is going to be interesting to see. And you nailed it, Jed. If this is more attention for that school, great. That they can't buy that. I know Stephen A. Smith was talking about it the other day. on First Take, and I know he's a big supporter of the HBCU schools.
Yep.
He raises a ton of money for. He was kind of kidding that he should have went to Winston-Salem instead of North Carolina A&T. But yeah, it can raise money. If J.R. Smith can raise money and contribute whatever, then this would be a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if we'll be watching J.R. Smith play collegiate golf and forget, how many strokes he's down at the end of a game. And
yeah, he's gonna think he won the tournament when he lost by 1 stroke, right? And
so
then LeBron's gonna go to the bench and pout.
yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So that's going to do it for us here, Sap, at the Pick and Roll NBA podcast with Jet and Sap. We are presented by Full Press Coverage. Make sure you check out our show wherever podcasts are found, and check out our Twitters at Jet Stryer, at John Sap25. And we will be back next week with some more NBA news, rumors, golfers, whatever it is. We will be talking about it. And so, yeah, make sure you check it out then. See you, everybody.